Hey there, everyone. Time for another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So, for myself, I focused on this beautiful mouse gray specimen that you see here in front of you again today. Trying to just get things moving on it. So, yesterday we had Jacob drill out the busted hubcap clips on it. So, today pretty much Rafa and I, it's basically a two-person job, at least with our setup. So we went ahead and pounded on new ones. By pounded on, I mean the roots. You have to beat the living daylights out of them to get them to be squished on the back so they hold in place. So yeah, I put those on and went around pretty much the edges of all of them. And, you know, a lot of times they've been scraped up against a curb or some little bends or something. So pretty much went around and like metalwork, body work, whatever you want to call it, around the edge of all five of them here. You can kind of see an area here where it's down to bare metal where I worked on it, where it was like some curb rash and stuff like that. So yeah, just go around them and make sure that when they're all painted and powder coated, they're going to look, you know, pretty new or as close to new as possible for 50 plus year old wheels. So actually 60 plus years in this case. But anyway, yeah, so started the day off with those things, getting the wheels ready to powder coat. The seats themselves, all except that one, are over at Octavio's. The more we looked at those seats, the more issues we found. Bent frames and lots of broken springs and just issues all over the place. So Octavio fixes seat frames all the time because he's an upholstery shop. And inevitably, when they get a car in to do an upholstery, the frames on these cars, again, which, you know, these are 60 plus year old frames that have been sat on many times. And in some cases, especially for this bus, look like they sat out in the weather, just rusted and busted springs anyway. So he'll make all the seat frames rather good as new, get them all straight, everything like that. And then they will go off to sandblasting and powder coating. And then we can start looking into taking this guy's beautiful upholstery that he bought already, the seat covers essentially, and fitting them on these. And yeah, so again, just trying to get ducks lined up here. So go ahead and get the upholstery going, get his wheels powder coated, and then ultimately painted. So I already got the tires, got them all leaned up over here out of the way. And the reason they're over there is because I needed to make room in the car to work. And so kind of the next thing that I turned my attention to after getting the wheels to where I was satisfied with was going ahead and making sure that all the holes were drilled for the jail bars. So anyone who may be new to buses, these are jail bars that run around here. Essentially, if you've got luggage back there and it's banging around, it's hitting those bars instead of smashing against glass, right? You can see how that would work. Anyway, so this bus has some new metal in it and has had some metal work back here. And so a lot of the holes for the jail bar mounts were actually missing. And so we like to go ahead and have all those in there before the headliner goes on. And then because we don't want to be drilling holes through a brand new beautiful mohair headliner, it's best to have the holes in there. And then, you know, basically once the headliner's on, you can pretty much find the holes where they are because A, we know about where they are, and then B, you take basically a almost like an ice pick type thing, and you start gently poking around in the on the headliner where you feel like they should be, and ultimately you find them, and then you can attach the jail bars. But anyway, yeah, probably like half or more of the holes were missing. So pretty much what I did was I used the holes that were not missing and then took measurements and mounted things and made sure that everything was like lined up and parallel to each other. So again, there's two that run like that. So again, there's an upper and a lower one that run all the way around like that. And yeah, just using, again, the existing holes and making sure that everything was going to line up all the way around here. and then drilling those holes. So that is actually pretty time consuming, making sure that everything was going to be lined up nice. Because luckily, I guess the two that mount onto the rear hatch, all the holes were there already for those. So these 4 on this side and 4 on that side, those were already there. So basically what I did was I mounted the jail bars across the back here, and then I used those to figure out where to drill the holes so that they would be lined up, because you can see how this is supposed to be like a nice continuous line, even though this is obviously like 2 separate pieces. So use the 2 on the rear hatch to guide me in as far as like where to put the ones on the side, and then from there kind of going forward, again also trying to use the existing holes. So kind of a pain in the butt, but you know, this is the right time to do it. The other thing that we did was we went ahead and made and pulled the wiring harness for the dome light. So you can see one hanging down there for the front dome light, and then one kind of rolled up there for the rear dome light. So I think the customer had bought the wiring harness for this probably a while ago. It was, I think, sold by Wolfsburg West, but it was made by Wiring Works, and they didn't actually include the harness for the overhead lights, for the dome lights. So not a big problem. It's literally 2 wires. So we went ahead and made up that harness real quick, pulled it through, and took care of that. It's dangling out right there. You can probably see it, so it'll get connected to the switch eventually. And what else? The other thing was I had Jacob go ahead and go around with a tap and tap out all the holes for where the pop-out window latches attach. Again, you know, these holes, when a car gets painted, inevitably end up full of paint. You really need to tap them before you think about putting screws in them. And the last thing we want to do, again, when all this is nicely upholstered in a brand new mohair headliner, is start running a tap through a mohair headliner. It's just not really the way it should be done. So again, all these holes are tapped. So now once this is all covered, all we got to do is come along with our like handy dandy ice pick or awl or whatever you want to call it, find those holes, and then boom, just a matter of screwing the latches on. So yeah, he went ahead and did that for all the pop-out latches and for the, probably hard to see from here, but there's other holes here for the coat hooks and grab handles, all that good stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much what we did on this one today. So I think the next step before the headliner goes in is, I think Rafa and I probably tomorrow, in fact, are going to start test fitting the skylight windows. Because as you guys who have been watching the channel know, is that these windows can often fight you. And a lot of times what we have to do is we have to go and grind this lip down. This looks pretty fat right here. I'm guessing this is going to fight us. But the time to grind this lip down is now, as opposed to when there's, again, a brand new, beautiful mohair headliner in here. So yeah, so we're going to test fit those. Customers supplied all the seals, so we'll pretty much burn through those because we're going to mount probably all the windows, and then when we remove them, may or may not be able to save the seals, but I think it's money well spent to do this now, even though if we end up, you know, kind of sacrificing all these seals to make sure that when this thing finally goes together, that all these windows are going to go in like bitchin' and not fight us and be super nasty like they often are. So that's kind of the plan. That being the case, probably if he has space, which I think he may, we may actually roll this thing over to Octavio's like Thursday maybe. And again, I think I mentioned yesterday, the plan will be to have him do the headliner, the carpet and back, and the walkthrough section, and probably also the sliding ragtop. So we're trying to find, or we're going to try and find a good color canvas, or vinyl rather, for this. So the ones that we use often, actually let me point something out. So this is the thing with Volkswagens is these are the same color, but they're really not. And these cars are all different colors that are supposed to be the same or not. So you can tell these aren't really the same, even though they're supposed to be. But, you know, people mix up paint. And anyway, so the top that we have on this one looks, it's kind of bright white, but this roof is also pretty bright white. So it doesn't really look out of place. But if we were to put on that fairly bright white top on this bus, it would look kind of silly because this is a much more creamy version of this white. So yeah, we're going to try and find a vinyl that's going to be a bit more off-white, like more closer to that than this, which again, it's a good match for this bus, but it would be not a great match for this bus. So anyway, hopefully this is going over there Thursday. So as far as what Rafa did today, this is his project he's been working on here, and it's done finally. This is the dash frame and windshield support that he pretty much like almost made from scratch with the very poorly designed one that comes from Myers-Manx, which was pretty much like these end pieces and then this bit right here that didn't even remotely fit. It was like it wasn't even made for a Myers-Manx, like it was made for a Fiat. I don't know what it was so not, it fit so poorly, like you couldn't even say it fit. It just like it wasn't even made for this car. So Rafa pretty much completely chopped it apart and sliced it and diced it and extended it. And then he made this reinforcement piece here you see in the top. This is that angle iron piece I was talking about that both the hood and the dash bolt to, so they lay nice and flat against each other. So he made that, and then he put a brace between the two. And so this thing now is awesome, and it's going to support the steering column like it's supposed to. Like even this thing was just totally at the wrong angle. It was just like a nightmare piece of garbage. But now after literally spending like couple days probably essentially like remaking this thing, it fits awesome now. So that was, believe it or not, that was pretty much Rafa's day. And the poor guy, I feel so bad. He was literally like had the dash installed on here and had that thing bolted up, and he pretty much had to bolt it up, and then he was laying on his back, so he was using these towels here essentially as like a pillow, laying here with his head there looking up under the dash. Again, the dash was on here, so it's kind of covering this area here. And he was like tack welding up underneath there and like getting welding splatter like on his face. And I mean, it was terrible. And, but he is a trooper, obviously, and he does what he has to do to get the job done. So very happy for him that he's done with that, because it was kind of a nightmare. So that was Rafa's day. Anyway, that's pretty much everyone's day, because I already mentioned what Jacob did. So we will see you guys again tomorrow. That's it for today. So see you soon. Bye.